Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. My topic today is afdal nisa al-alamin. The Prophet Muhammad once recited that there is a lot of exemplary men throughout the course of history, but there have been specifically 4 women who show traits to be role models in their time and every time after them. The manners they exhibited them truly make them worth being the best women in the Muslim Ummah. And our first afdal nisa al-alamin is Asya bint Muzahim. She was the wife of the Pharaoh of Egypt, also known as the enemy of Allah, as he claimed to be the all-divine God himself. She was the person who raised Prophet Musa alayhi after his mother threw him into the Nile on orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She loved Musa and raised him as if he were her own child. She was one of the first also to accept Prophet Musa's message in secret from her tyrannical husband, and she used to pray to Allah to save her from Pharaoh and build her a house in Jannah. The reason that she is one of the Nisa al-Alamin is she sacrificed everything in the name of Allah. She had to give up her status and wealth as queen, and she underwent mounds of torture and eventual death at the hands of Pharaoh. This is all proof that she felt very strongly in Musa's message and in Allah's Tawheed. Our next of the Nisa al-Alamin is Maryam bint Imran. She was the mother of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, and she was born as an orphan and was raised by Prophet Zakaria alayhi salam after her mother had promised her to Allah while she was pregnant with her. Allah described her in the Holy Quran when talking about Prophet Isa alayhi salam when he said Ummuhu Siddiqa. And he also went on to say, and manners and values completed in her, she is the example of patience and selflessness. The Gabriel alayhi salam came to her bearing the message that she was pregnant with a child while she hadn't been pregnant and she hadn't been married, and it was the hardest challenge she faced because she would have to undergo ridicule and judgment from her people. Upon his birth, she was lonely and distanced from her family, and when she presented her son to her people, her faith fully in Allah. And that is why she is honest, faithful, and subservient to her Lord, and deserves a reward from Allah. Our third woman is Khadija bint Khuwaylid. She is al-Mu'mineen. She is also known as al-Mu'mineen. She is the first wife of the Prophet. She birthed all of the Prophet's children except for Ibrahim, and she was one who loved. She was the one that he loved the most. Aisha could be quoted saying that she's never been jealous of any of his wives as much as she was of Khadija. She was the first one to believe in the Prophet's message and supported him through everything. She believed in him when people shunned and rejected. And the Prophet promised her a bayt in Jannah, baytin fi Jannah la sakhaba fihi wa la nasab. The Prophet mourned her death for the longest time. He named the year that she died in Aam al-Huzn. And the final exemplary woman we're going to be talking about is Fatima bint Muhammad radiallahu anha. Her father was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she used to be called Abiha by her father, which means the mother of her father. And she defended him from the mushrikeen. When she was 5 or 6, she saw that one of the mushrikeen had thrown camel guts on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he was in Sajj, and she cleaned him up and wept after him. When she grew up, she married Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he was poor, and he offered her a shield as her mahr, his spoils from the Battle of Badr, and she accepted, and the pair eventually got married. She eventually gave birth to Hassan al-Hussein, Sayyida Shabab al-Jannah, and she was the first to meet the Prophet after he arrived home from battle, and she used to embrace him and kiss his hand and sit with him to talk about everything that has happened. She was the only one of the Prophet's children to outlive him, and his death was the worst thing that ever happened to her. She was the first of his family to pass away after her Prophet's death. When the Prophet was on his deathbed, he told her that he was dying, which caused her to weep and cry. And then he told her that she would be the first to follow after him, which caused her to beam with joy. The reason we should honor these women is because just like in Islam where we have all of the strong men that have contributed so much like Umar ibn Khattab and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhum, we also have very strong women like Khadija radiallahu anha who literally was stood by the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam through everything, and she was the one who was like his backbone through all his trials and tribulations. And people like Asya who literally had to stand in front of like the strongest man alive at that point and stand in front of him and face him because she strongly felt in Musa's message and Allah's tawheed. And they're really like we should take these like their strength and bravery as role models for us to use in our own lives. And it shows just because we have very strong men that we always honor, we should also honor the very strong women in Islam as well. Thank you for listening to me. I'm really glad I was able to share some knowledge with you. Ramadan Kareem, and hope everyone's doing well.